Appreciate y'all being here. Proud of our football team last week. I thought we came out and really had a three-phase win. We've talked about that before, but as far as putting things together, I think we're continuing to grow as a football team. I thought we did a nice job coming out of the gates last week, and then we're able to extend leads, and we've been working on that as a football team and understanding the opportunities that you have in front of you, trying to make the most of those. So I thought our special teams cleaned up quite a bit last week. We need to continue in that mode. Offensively and defensively, got a few things going. Good to see our defense, 50% of the time I think they were 3 and out right there in the game, which is it's a huge factor for you as you go. Lachlan with what he was able to do from a punting situation and pinning them down there 3 different times. Those are really outstanding plays that we need to continue to keep striving for. So good game by our guys, understanding we still got a lot of room to grow. We still got a lot of things to get better at, but pleased with our progress, excited to get on the practice field with them today and get an opportunity to get back out and go back to work. Obviously, got Ole Miss this week. Coach Kiffin has done an outstanding job there. That program just continues to rise. I think they're 13 in one poll, 16 in the next poll. The number one, or I think they're the number 2 scoring defense in the country, giving up like 4 points a game. I think they've only given up 13 all year long. I think they're like, 5th in the country in sacks, 16th overall defense, 10th like in rushing, something to that nature. And then you look at them offensively, I think they're averaging 43 points a game, so they're putting up a lot of big numbers. And we've got a great challenge and a great test for us. So I'm excited about the opportunity. I know our guys are as well, and getting back on the practice field and going to work, preparing for them.
In these spots, I've heard you say it enough that you got to find a way to run the ball some. How do you feel about your offensive line, which has been, so many new faces in there at this spot going against this challenge?
I think we're making progress every week. I mean, we've seen a lot of different stuff over the first 3 weeks, and our lineup, as far as those 5 guys, have not been the same 5 guys every week. But I think we're continuing to make progress. I think, last week we had a few more explosive type runs in there. We need to continue to do that part of it. But you got to be able to move chains and make significant impact in your running game. It's an area that we're continuing to work on. We'll do it again this week. Had a couple of chances for a few other explosive runs in there that we just missed, didn't have our eyes in the right spot or didn't read it completely correct. But I think we're working diligently towards that. I think we'll continue to grow in that area, and it'll be a big impact part for practice today.
And how similar is their offense to what you guys run and what your defense sees in practice, around the year?
Everybody's got their own unique twist to things. I mean, I know they're going to play with a little tempo. Obviously, they're playing 2 quarterbacks right now. They got 3 running backs back there that can all – Bentley we've played for multiple years, transfer from SMU, and he's like their 3rd back coming in. They got a true freshman in there that's got great vision, that can really roll. And then the guy that's actually leading them in yards and everything else, very, very talented. They're big up front. I think every one of them are 6'5", 300 or better, and they can bend and move. They got big tight ends that are adding to that part of it, but also a threat in the passing game. And then you look at their receivers. They're all 6'2" or better on the outsides, and those guys can make plays down the field, and they're going to try to stretch you that way. I don't think they're doing quite as much quarterback run as they did with Corral, but, those guys can pull it down, and they're asking them to pull it down and do some things like that. So it's going to be a great test for our defense for sure.
On that thought, you're up against Kiffin, who's one of the strongest offensive minds probably in college football. How do you help your first year DC? Coming off of a developmental game defensively, but how do you help Olson going up against an offense as prolific?
Well, I got a lot of faith in our defensive staff and those guys, and more importantly, our guys on the field. And so we've got to do a good job schematically of getting them in the right spots and then letting them play. And so our defense has gone against some big tests before. We'll continue to go against some big tests throughout this year. This is going to be a big one come Saturday, but I got a lot of faith in those guys and what they can do and the way they come together.
And on offense, Davis is obviously your passing game's in good shape. You guys are going against a secondary that said, they throw the ball a lot, so we're looking to try to take advantage of that from an interception perspective. How do you help Davis in preparation this week to make sure that he's still taking care of the ball?
Well, I think more importantly, just do the things that we've been doing from the standpoint with him. Those receivers have got to do a good job. Offensive line's got to do a good job. We've got to understand where spots that we need to be working are, getting separation in those times when they're playing man and doing some different things. But Davis has got to do a good job of working through the offense, taking what they're giving us, making sure that we keep that mindset of, hey, if this guy's open, I'm letting it go and not trying to hold it and say, hey, I think this guy's fixing to pop. But doing a good job of reading, doing a good job of taking what they're giving us.
How has Davis and Keelan, they're both getting a lot of national attention, being at the top of their respective lists for yardage. How are they handling that attention, and what do you see from them going into a game like this?
Well, I think with our football team in general, our approach has always been, it's about what we do as a team, not what we do as individuals. The individual things will take care of themselves if you're taking care of business on the field. And so I think their focus is about our football team and us finding ways to go out and win ball games. So the rest of it will be the rest of it. We just got to go back to work, continue to keep improving, understanding that we still left some things out there on the field, and we've got an opportunity to get better this week, and I think that has been their approach all the way through.
Speaking of Davis, Brandon, we talked all off-season and going into the year about how much he has improved since last year. Especially, did you expect it to, I guess, be this much improvement as well as he's done, especially with taking care of the football, and has he reached his ceiling yet, or do you think there's more to come?
Well, I think offensively we still have a lot of room to grow. I think each individual player in their perspective spot is still looking at it that way as well. And so I think it's a collective process. I think Davis has played extremely well, but I think there's a whole lot of guys that have helped in that process. So, being able to throw the ball and spread it around the way that we've been able to do so far, this is going to be a great test for us this weekend. But those guys are playing with confidence. They've got a good energy about them. They're able to kind of feel and read, and that part of it is so much so important for us in what we do and being on the same page. And so we've got to continue to stay in that mode and not try to do more than what we've been doing. Just be us, go out and perform the way we know we can. And at the end of 60 minutes, we'll look on the clock to see where we're at.
You guys obviously try to, treat each game as the same, each opponent the same, but can you feel kind of a different energy when it's a team like this, a road trip to an SEC team that's ranked in the top 20?
Well, I think anytime. When you're playing the number 16 team in the country, it's going to, or 13, depending upon which poll you're looking at. Guys are going to be geared up, ready to play, and we'll step out on the practice field today. The good thing that I think our team has done so far this year and hopefully continue to do is we're not riding the roller coaster part of it. Just be even keeled about who we are, what we do, and how we get there. And so for us, we're staying hungry about trying to improve every day, be humble about what happens, be respectful to everything that we do. And when we do that, it's about the work we put in on the practice field and transferring that onto what we're doing in games.
Is it to have games like this on the schedule going, high visibility games against high profile opponents?
For us, this is our schedule. This is who they've lined up in front of us. So this week we're going to put all of our focus on Ole Miss, and as we continue to work through our schedule, we're going to have some big games in there. Our conference right now is playing extremely well, and we know we got some big ones right here as that conference schedule comes up. So we're going to obviously focus this week on Ole Miss, and that's our biggest game because it's the next one on our list.
Because you guys have shown well in a lot of these spots of late and played teams into the fourth quarter, some of the best teams in the country, is there maybe a little bit different level of belief, within the program, you think, in these spots? And do the guys relish these moments a little bit differently than, maybe when you got started here and maybe that hadn't been built up yet?
Well, I think more importantly, we understand everything's going to be decided between the white lines and not anywhere else. And it's not about all the different logos in the stadiums and where you play and the crowd. It is still going to be decided by the players on the football field. And so our guys understand that point, and they're preparing themselves for that type of battle. So we've got some guys in that locker room that have played in some big venues and in some big situations. And so they'll do a good job of continuing to grow some of these new faces, some of these younger guys. But I think, again, we're excited about playing this week. But I think more than anything, we're just excited about continuing to grow as a team, and that's where our focus has been.
Putting a finer point on some of the stuff you were saying just a minute ago, Keelan and Juan Carlos especially, they could always run and they good catch, good receivers, but they're so advanced now and veteran, it seems like they're always on the same page with Davis. And just maybe speak to how much, the numbers are crazy, and how much of it is some of those things that probably get forgotten by us, that it's simply a guy knowing how to do his job, so much better in his sixth year than he could his second or third.
Well, I think, to your point, I think you're accurate, right? I think right now, especially these four guys that are playing significant minutes at receiver for us, they got a really good understanding on spacing. They have a good understanding how routes and combinations of routes fit together, and understanding how one affects the other. And it's more than, hey, I've got a dig on this particular route. How do I work this dig now as an older guy versus this coverage versus this scheme versus this look by the DB, and giving myself the best opportunity to find openness and separation within that. And then Davis doing a good job of being able to give them the football in an accurate spot. They help each other within their routes. They understand how the combinations work, and they're playing really well together. And I think that has been the biggest key throughout.
On the receiver theme, Isaiah Epps, obviously coming here from the SEC, has intimate familiarity with playing Ole Miss. How does that help kind of through practice this week? Is he able to step up in more of a, experienced role in terms of that receiving core this week?
It could. I think more than anything, our focus has to still be on us, right? And so we've got to be concerned about what our route combination is or what our duty is on that play. Obviously, it goes to the full execution of the play. And so I think these guys, we played some really good secondaries and some really good DBs throughout the year. You go back to Cincinnati's team last year. Those guys they had in the backfield, they're all like 3- and 4-year starters. They've been together. You knew what it was going to take against those. A top-rated corner, I think, in the draft last year was out of their place. So we've had to do that, and I think our guys understand the competitiveness that's going to be on the field this week, and they're going to rise to the challenge.
You briefly mentioned Lachlan Wilson in your opening. Just talk about him being punter of the week and kind of what having a weapon like that can do for you in terms of field position.
And I think you said it correctly. He is a weapon. He's a guy that can flip the field. He's a guy that can really do some significant things with the football and be accurate about where he wants to place it and do it. We got to do a good job of protection. I think they've blocked a punt every week so far this year. So we know we've got to be keen on that part of it, but to have a guy like Lachlan that's got some experience obviously underneath his belt, but to be as talented as he is obviously is a weapon for us.
Any other questions for Coach?
Any injury updates on Farniok or Gary?
Not at this particular time. We'll see how they go this week in practice.
I'm interested in how you prepare teams in a week like this, because I've heard a couple different things from you and your players with regard to trying to make it like every other week. But then, I also heard Bryson talk about how in this program, kind of every day, you carry a bit of a chip on your shoulder and relish the opportunity to show, programs that overlook these guys that, especially Keelan said that as well, that, we put on our pants one leg at a time. You got to go out, in between the white lines and do this. So just some of those things in mind. And then also, do you spend any time trying to get them to believe, this week, like you can win, you do belong on the field with these guys? Do you pump them up anymore in a week like this? Or is it just trying to do it exactly like you always do it so that they're, approaching it in the best way without putting too much into it, I guess?
Yeah, Caden, it's a good question. I think at the end of the day, we got to be us, right? And our program, we're the smallest Division I school in America, right? But we take pride in that, and we are more times than not, whatever the standings come out, we're usually not at the top of it, and we understand that part of it. And when people go to pick things, that we're generally not at the top of it. And so I think our guys have a chip on their shoulder. A lot of guys in this program were guys that maybe didn't have tons of offers coming out of high school. Some did, some didn't. But it's an opportunity to step on the field and continue to prove who we are, who we think we can be, and who we're striving to be. And I don't think I have to give any more rah-rah speech this week than I had to do last week. I think our guys understand each week is an important week and each game matters. But I do think they relish in the opportunity to go up in a stage like this and perform well. And so I think our guys are locked into that part of it and understand everything will be decided in between the white lines and nowhere else.